Chapter 13, Healing Planet Earth. Is this work for you? Some of you who are reading this book will intuitively know you can do this work, that you've been called to do it. Others may be thinking, well, this sounds simple. I'll just call in the Arcturians and then I'll start removing reptilians. But as you read in this chapter, it is far from that simple or that easy. You have to have the right intention. You need to prepare yourself so you're ready for it. Your vibration has to be high. And you need to make sure you're protected. Most importantly, you have to connect to the Arcturians and accept their download. The fact is that you and I cannot do this at all. A human being does not have the power to remove reptilians. If we did, this planet would be an entirely different place already. We are necessary in order for the work to be done, but it's the Arcturians, not us, who remove reptilians. Yes, I'd like to see 1,000, 10,000, 1,000,000 people out there around this planet who are connected with the Arcturians and doing this work. So I'm certainly not trying to scare everyone away. But at the same time, I want those who are reading this to be aware it's not child's play. It's not for everyone. This work is serious spiritual warfare, and you need to take it seriously. These reptilians are powerful, not as powerful as the Arcturians, but they're very dangerous. If you decide to engage them, be aware. You'll be painting a bullseye on your chest. Lisa and Robert, who were the other 2/3 of the healing team working with Carl, at the time we first encountered the reptilians, know all of this firsthand. So does Ellen, who I've been training, and who has been doing this work too. I ask each of them to tell me what it's been like for them to do the work and what advice they have for anyone else who wants to begin doing it. They've all experienced the downside. The work can be extremely difficult, and it can take a toll on you if you're not scrupulous about keeping your vibration high. But they've experienced the upside too, which comes not only from removing reptilians, but also from developing a personal connection with the very powerful, very loving Arcturians. All of us have found connecting with the Arcturians to be uplifting and beneficial. Of course, we're still learning. We may be at different stages in the learning process, and each person progresses at a different pace, but I don't think the process ever ends. There is always more to discover, more that will be revealed to us once we're ready to receive it. Lisa, opening a new gateway. Lisa says, before the work we did with Carl, I wasn't aware of the reptilian presence on our planet, around our planet, and controlling us. I wasn't aware there were dark forces trying to control us or hurt us or feed off of us. I thought everything was love and light. Love and light. During our sessions with Carl, Lisa, who is a healer and a gifted psychic, acted as the intermediary between the rest of us and the 3 guests who managed to string us along in the beginning. She was the person directly communicating with them. As soon as they realized we were on to the fact they were reptilians, they attacked her and tried to get her to throw herself across the room. So learning about the reptilians was hardly fun for her, but at the same time, connecting with the Arcturians has opened a new gateway for the work she does. And the knowledge she's gained from these healing sessions and events has helped her see what is often really holding people back from experiencing the love and light. Lisa says, tuning into the Arcturians 2 years ago has taken my work as a healer and psychic to another level and transformed my knowingness of the universe. Before my experience with Carl, I was only aware of the angelic realm and the masters, like Jesus. I wasn't really aware of the celestial beings, our brothers and sisters of the stars. Being introduced to the Arcturians has definitely taken my work in a different direction. It is our birthright to emanate radiance, she says, but because of the reptilian presence on our Earth, many people are not capable of ascending or acknowledging their birthright, which is being a radiant being of light. It's nice to know there are beings of light out there who love and want to assist humanity in breaking free of the falsehoods the reptilians have perpetuated on us for thousands and thousands of years. I often refer people to Lisa after my work with them is finished. Whether she works with them one time or on an ongoing basis, she often has a better sense of the difference it can make when people have these entities, especially the reptilians, removed. The people I work with afterward are amazed at how life has become a more positive experience rather than a negative one. They can actually feel and sense and love again instead of being angry and grumpy and blaming the world for their troubles. They realize they were walking in a lot of fear because that's what the reptilians feed off of. Now, they are capable of experiencing higher vibrational love, happiness, and joy. Usually, they come to me wanting to know their soul's purpose and to get on their soul's path. They're able and ready to acknowledge they have a spiritual path, and they want to assist humanity. They don't want a life that's about service to self. Me. Stuff. Get. They really want to assist others in finding that love and light and happiness. Everyone who worked with Carl wishes he'd been able to have that kind of experience too. That's what all of us on the healing team were hoping for when we got together. But he hasn't had the dramatic change or positive results so many others have had. Lisa says, Carl definitely has some karmic issues to deal with and some psychic wounds that I don't think we worked on. And although the reptilians were removed, it appears he can still be manipulated and controlled by the frequencies they continue to broadcast. Working with the light. Lisa now calls on the Arcturians in most of her sessions, whether or not she's removing reptilians. She practices what she calls light therapy, in which she uses the light. The Arcturians are able to send in either orbs of light or shafts of light into her clients for protection and for healing. This is what she sees when the Arcturians use light to remove reptilians. A shaft of light sent from the Arcturians enters the client from the top of the head and then travels down the spine all the way out through the pelvis area, connecting the person to Gaia and grounding him or her. Then the shaft of light starts vibrating at a high frequency. When it starts vibrating, it also starts expanding, and within the shaft of light, a vortex is created. If you were to look down into the shaft of light from the top, you would see it start spinning. It looks kind of like a tornado, spinning and spinning and spinning. The reptilians are swept up within the shaft of light that becomes a vortex, and they are lifted up to the light. The shaft of light is like a tunnel, and it connects above to an even larger tunnel of light. When I look up to see what's beyond the light, sometimes I can actually see an Arcturian spacecraft. Her impression is that not all of the reptilians are taken to a spacecraft. The ones who are removed from inside people or around people are usually just sent to the light. She says, if there's a reptilian outside someone or outside the auric field harassing someone, usually 2 or 3 Arcturians will come down and surround the reptilian. Sometimes they put a net of light around it and take it up to the light. Sometimes they stun it, and a couple of Arcturians carry it up to the light. The reptilians don't put up much of a fight when they're caught. I think the vibrational frequency is too high for them, and they can't handle it. It doesn't kill them, but it stuns them. Once they're immobilized, they can be safely taken to the light. I rarely see the reptilians being taken to an Arcturian spacecraft. However, the reptilians are very hierarchical, with the draconians at the highest level. They're more protected by the reptilian troops and harder to get to since they're usually down in the underground bases. It's the draconians who, once captured by the Arcturians, are the most likely reptilians to be taken up to a spacecraft. What happens to them there, I don't know. Lisa hasn't encountered very many draconians. She says they are elusive and much more intelligent than the other reptilians, who she describes as having a thug mentality and relying on brute force. I find the draconians extremely difficult to remove. I call upon a lot of Arcturians when I'm face to face with the draconian. She has gotten stronger in the course of the 2 years since we first encountered the reptilians. Lisa says, the first year, or even year and a half, was more challenging. But the more I connect with the Arcturians, and the more I continue to facilitate this work, the easier it becomes. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I do it. I don't have to see the reptilian faces anymore, which helps. I just know by their frequency what we're dealing with. At the beginning, the reptilians definitely did not want me to work with the Arcturians or continue in this line of work, so they set up obstacles and influenced others to try to stop my connection and the work, but I've prevailed. Staying connected with the Arcturians. Lisa has developed relationships with several Arcturians and feels the presence of a council of 12 around her at all times. Not only do they support and guide her, they also help her access her higher self and remain in the light. And they protect her as she navigates through the day-to-day aspects of our third-dimensional world. I don't actually see them, but she does. When they make their entrance, they're these little light beings I see from afar with my third eye, coming closer and closer until I can see eyes and what looks like a slit for a nose and a slit for a mouth. They don't have human-looking faces. They generally first appear as colors and orbs, oval orbs, like oval beings of light. The color of the light varies from violet to blue, depending on which group is coming to speak with me. My council of 12 is blue, but others I channel, or who assist me, sometimes radiate violet. Sometimes they are small beings of light, maybe about 4 feet tall, but depending on what they're assisting with, they can expand and become very tall, up to 10 or 12 feet. They're especially likely to do that when I'm going into a very dense place with a lot of reptilian-controlled beings. I don't see lower legs or feet, I see gowns. They are more light than physical form. They're translucent, so although they have shape, they don't have the dense flesh or the form that we have. Offering guidance for others. Lisa has been doing this work about as long as I have, so she has a lot of experience and some excellent and crucial advice for anyone who thinks they want to start removing reptilians. The most important thing is that your vibrational frequency has to be high enough. The Arcturians have laid it out for us. There are universal laws that have been given to us through other channels, which are guidelines for us to function at a high frequency. It's important that we not only know these universal laws, but that we also truly practice them. It's about walking your talk and trying to be as pure as possible. You have to really know spirit and feel spirit within every cell of your body. You have to have a devotional discipline in order to connect with the Arcturians and connect with your spiritual families. And I think you also have to be sure you're unplugged from the mass consciousness. Have the discipline to not watch television or read the news. Have the discipline to maybe not even go to the movies or listen to popular music. Have the discipline to know what is yours and what is not yours. Basically, I feel that anyone doing this needs to be pure in a vibrational, emotional, and spiritual sense, because the reptilians will use anything to hurt or control you, particularly if you're going to engage in removing them. If you want to confront these dark, powerful forces, you need to be at a high frequency and pure. If you have a negative thought stream forming within your brain, the reptilians can manipulate it and expand it so that it fills every part of your body. The reptilians know what your weaknesses are, and those are the places where they will attack you. They know how to push your buttons. If you have any insecurities, they'll amplify them. They'll push you toward whatever causes you to slip and fall. If you have any kind of addiction you're trying to work on or recover from, they will do whatever they can to keep you addicted. They will use anything that causes your vibration to drop. Maybe you're out driving and someone cuts you off and you get angry. That lowers your vibration. That's an example of a simple kinds of things they will use. You have to do the work to remain positive and loving, Lisa says, and to really know who you are and what your mission is. Otherwise, you're likely to be kicked around and used and abused. If we're not pure of heart and filled with light, the reptilians can infiltrate us and manipulate us very easily with their dense frequencies, which come in many forms and are constantly bombarding us. They play games with people who think they're doing removals. You may think you're working with the Arcturians and helping people, but you'll actually be planting seeds in people. So you have to have a high vibration or you'll end up unconsciously working for the reptilians. Unless you feel divinely inspired to do this work and be connected with the Arcturians, you shouldn't attempt it. It has to be divinely inspired, because if you're trying to do it for your ego and calling attention to yourself, look at me, I can remove reptilians, I'm so amazing, then you're going to have an interesting experience and it won't be a positive one. The reptilians will go after your ego. The work definitely has to come from your heart. Facing her challenges. The reptilians want to control everyone. and they always go after the weak link in the chain. If they can't get to you directly, they will go around you and try to get to someone who is close to you. As Lisa said, they are extremely adept at manipulating people. Lisa says that the reptilians have a very low, dense vibration, lower than ours. There's a complete imbalance within them, she says. They have hearts that beat, but they have no idea about the vibration of love. Everything for them is the extreme. The only emotions they know are fear-based, which is the opposite of love. So as far as their spiritual development is concerned, they are way down the vibrational line. Human beings experience fear, but we can also experience love. We can experience the connection with the Creator of all that is. We can also radiate love that heals and touches others. Lisa says that what the reptilians have over us is their technology, and they use their technological powers to manipulate the human species. When they first came to the Earth plane, they gave humans agriculture. They gave them technologies to help them with building. Humanity took great leaps in social organization. So the reptilians were seen as gods, even though they are lower on the spiritual evolution scale, simply because they were more technologically advanced. Several months ago, a client of Lisa's who works in the Boston area told her she had been feeling something underneath her feet. Lisa called on the Arcturians to assist her, and they showed her that the reptilians had an underground base in that location. The Arcturians sent orbs of light down into the portal, Lisa says, and we saw all of these passageways, all these reptilians, and they actually had computers and screens and desks. It looked like an office setup, but the Arcturians told me it was a manipulation control center. The orbs of white light stunned the reptilians who were down there, and the Arcturians started removing them with shafts of light. The shafts of light just started spinning, and the reptilians and the furniture and the computers got swept up into this vortex of white light that lifted everything up and out and into the light above. The Arcturians almost never leave a portal or tunnel or base open. First, they make sure everything is removed, and all the reptilians are gone. Then they energetically close the portal so it can't be used again. Lisa saw the Arcturians put a protective cover of light over the opening of that underground facility. 2 or 3 days later, she learned from another channeled source that a number of the reptilian underground bases in that area had been taken out. Lisa's message from the Arcturians. The Arcturians communicated this message for us through Lisa. Greetings, beloved brothers and sisters on the Earth plane. We are most grateful for the abilities of the humans on Earth plane to connect with higher vibrational celestial beings. We have been waiting for this time to be able to serve humanity and those who want to lift their frequency and embody more of the light. Indeed, there are beings who do not serve for love and light, but in fact serve for the opposite, fear and control. However, many on the Earth plane are awakening to the deception and lies that have been perpetuated upon your planet for millennia. Now, we are able to offer our support in large numbers. In past times, we were not able to assist due to the free will that is universal law that we follow directly. The time to reunite with the celestial beings who watch over the earth is coming soon. There are more individuals who are willing to communicate with the brothers and sisters of the stars and who are able to lift their frequency to perform such a feat. We will continue to guide and support those who ask for our assistance. We are filled with wisdom that will assist those on their spiritual journey to reach higher and higher states of love and being. We are so grateful for those who have opened up their third eyes and their crowns, in addition to their heart centers, and who have taken that leap of faith to connect with us and our abilities to assist the earth in breaking free from the prison she has been suppressed within for thousands and thousands of years. Robert, healing the whole planet. Is it important to keep a high vibration? Is it important for us to do this work? Robert asked. Yes, it is. Unfortunately, I don't think the mainstream really understands yet that everything is energy, says Robert. All of our laws of physics, as we know them, are being challenged, and our perception of the world is being challenged. And I would suggest that you and I, Wayne, are working on the edges of this. Robert, a channeler and a healer, I met in a channeling workshop is very knowledgeable about many aspects of the spiritual realms. But what really stands out about him is that he doesn't back down from anything. When something does manage to knock him down, he gets back up and keeps going. The work Robert and I have done together isn't the type of work he ordinarily does, but he was a powerful presence on the healing team, and he's since worked with a few others like Carl, who have had reptilians from an early age or even from birth. We can clear some people of everything, says Robert, but because they have been conditioned, they fall back into a mindset of victimhood. Not everybody I've worked with has done that, but certainly those who have it from an early age find it very hard to progress. It's not as if everything is lost if someone has been controlled since birth, but there are different degrees to which we can expect people to heal if they've been under the reptilians' control for most of their lives. So much depends on the individual keeping a high vibrational frequency and doing his or her own work after being cleared. As Robert said, it isn't up to the Arcturians or Jesus or anyone else to do that. They can't do it. Each person has to do it for him or herself. Robert says, even when you clear not just people but places, it isn't always permanent. I believe it is the individual's responsibility, ultimately, to maintain the space. And I don't mean just their own personal space. I mean the wider area, the space in which they live. If you aren't keeping your vibration high and your auric shield becomes weakened, it's all too easy for demons, discarnates, attachments, and cords to get their hooks into you. This is doubly the case if you've had entities, especially reptilians, for years or even decades. Remember that these entities can affect you subtly at first. You may not notice them right away, which is exactly the way they want it. And once they get back into you, they manipulate your thinking. Robert says that makes it very, very difficult to persuade someone that there's a problem, even though you or I can see that there's a vast difference in his or her behavior and energy. It's always projected onto something or someone else. Robert has experience working with and on other light workers, with whom he's had success. He says there's a distinction between those who have had these entities all their lives, so it's difficult for them to make very much headway, and those who, because they are on a path of light, are already seeking and searching and preparing themselves to raise their vibration. We all create our own reality, and that's one of the hard things that we as light workers have to cope with. Experiencing the Arcturians. Each of us who has worked with the Arcturians has our own personal experience of them. But some things, their subtlety, their high vibrational frequency, their lovingness, and their power are felt by all of us. Robert says they are very different from angelic energies, and they always come, for me, as a group consciousness, he says. I don't see an individual Arcturian or a light or anything. I just sense them. And they don't seem to have an individual personality. Archangel Michael, on the other hand, has a very strong personality, not egotistical, but energetically. But the Arcturian force is very humble, yet powerful, and they're very quick and very effective in what they do. If they can't shift something, then I know we've got a real issue because I know how potent their energy is. Robert told me he doesn't call on the Arcturians a lot, but tends to hold them in reserve. They are not a panacea. They're not a silver bullet, he says. However, when I do need to bring out the big guns and I ask them to sweep through something, they're incredibly effective. I can feel a shift in energy immediately. I'm wondering if I should be using them more frequently in some of the work I do, and if I should dig a little deeper when I do my consultation before reading. That's something I'm still learning about, Robert says, when and how to use the Arcturians. Focusing on the bigger picture. Both Robert and I, as well as many other people, have been involved in large-scale healings, not just locally, but in different places throughout the world. Robert says there is a wider context of not just healing ourselves as individuals, but also healing the earth itself, because it contains portals and embedded souls, discarnates, whatever you want to call them. All of this work is helping to raise the frequency, and the Arcturians are involved very closely in that. They have a particular affinity for working not just with people, but with location, which brings us to Gaia and the bigger picture of healing the planet. Quite often, souls are trapped here and can't find their way to the light, says Robert. They get stuck in the earth itself or in someone's aura because they've seen it as light. As more and more of them come, there's a downward spiral. The energy of an area becomes very low and negative. I can feel that. Some would say it sends chills down your spine. Often, when we're doing work to help souls pass over, Robert uses angels to help them to open portals of light for the souls that have been stuck to pass through. But inevitably, at the end of it, Robert says, I ask the Arcturians for a cleansing, which I see as spirals of light that sweep upward through an individual. And as the Arcturians do that, they carry away any residue up into the light. So they work in a very complementary fashion as well as on their own. When he works with his clients, he uses light in a manner similar to the way Lisa uses it. He says, the main part of my work is the releasing of energies and then showing people how to maintain that state. I work primarily with the angelic frequencies, drawing pure white angelic light all the way down through the person's crown chakra and out of the soles of the feet, making sure it goes down into the earth itself. A lot of clients I work with do not have their energy fully in their bodies, often because they have pushed the energy down into the lower chakras or the lower part of the body, which often manifests in physical problems. They may only be inhabiting energetically the top half or top 2/3 of the body. Or even worse, they may not be in their body at all, which is what we call being spaced out or blissed out. He says bringing pure white light down and making sure it grounds is vital. So is asking for angelic protection by creating a circle of light around us in order to create a boundary, a clear space within which we can say we're going to lift our vibration. We're not trying to lift the entire neighborhood. We're just making sure our own personal space is clear and kept at a good, clean, high vibrational state. Maintaining good housekeeping. Robert echoes what I talk about in the previous chapter on protection. In order to stay protected, we need to keep our vibrational frequency high and our auric shield strong. It's not something you can do once or even occasionally whenever you can fit it into your schedule. It's only effective if it becomes a daily practice. As there is a greater awakening and understanding, I think people will start to realize that in the same way they wash their clothes and their bodies, they need to wash or cleanse their auras, says Robert. And they need to do the same thing with their locations or physical possessions, because each one carries a level of energy, particularly anything electrical, like computer systems or phones. It behooves us to have good housekeeping and to make sure everything is lifted and that we have a regular routine of infusing something with light, and then we need to maintain it. Robert's message from the Arcturians. Although Robert doesn't usually channel the Arcturians, he connected with them in order to receive a message for this book. Indeed, we are here, for we have been here from the outset of humanity's mission on Earth. We are the guardians in the wings, and we come now with a message that we are here in these times of great change to assist in that role of guardian. But we will always take a back seat. We will not interfere with your free will. And we welcome the opportunity for you, Wayne, to broadcast to many that we are here. For unless we are called upon, we will not intrude. For those who ask for our presence, we come willingly, and always in accordance with those themes you have outlined of healing, of lifting frequency, of releasing that which is stuck. In other words, of moving everything forward in a direction that lifts vibration and frequency and assists in the ascension of the planet and all on it. These are those times of change. This is why we come to the fore now. We do not seek the limelight in an egotistical sense. We simply seek acknowledgement from others that we exist and that we are here to be of service, and willingly so. Much has been written about where we live and what our role is within the wider universe. But perhaps more pertinent to this time is that we are here to assist each individual. We are here to assist whenever you, who may listen to this or may read these words, feel that you need help to lift your mood, or help to lift frequencies or energies that are not yours, but have somehow become stuck within your auric field or your light body. And of course we will do this, for that is how we grow through service, and it is our pleasure and joy to assist whenever possible. In this sense, we are akin in many ways to the angelic realms, but our vibration is different. We have gone through the process of being physical. We understand from our own history what it is like to work with dense physical vibrations, and so this is why we are here. We are your older brothers, come from the stars to assist you in these times of great change. Ellen. Finding a purpose in life. This seems to be my mission, says Ellen. I don't really get it, but it's like a calling or something. You get led into things, and at first you think you're just doing it as a hobby or out of curiosity. But then it turns into something else. Ellen was actually at the Whole Foods store the day Lisa and I ran into Carl before the healing team began working with him. When I was gathering people together, I asked Ellen to be part of the team, but she knew herself well enough to realize she wasn't ready yet, and she was probably right. But I think after she saw that the rest of us were surviving the experience and progressing on our paths, she decided to jump in, with both feet, as it turned out. That was actually encouraging to me, since before Ellen came along, I wasn't sure whether this was something that could be taught to others. Now I know that, yes, it can be taught. When I first met Ellen about 3 years ago, she had been going through a particularly difficult period in her life. I had been on a spiritual path for a long time, she says. I was a medium and did a lot of work on people and was very active in the spiritual world. Then, when my husband passed away suddenly, I became really depressed and changed into a different person. Everything was dark. I had no interest in life. I lost all my passion, even for the spiritual work. Although she was struggling, she had not given up. She told me later that she had been interested in the work I was doing right from the beginning. But whenever she thought about coming to see me, something would deter her, which of course is not uncommon. It's so hard for people to come to me when they have entities that are blocking them from doing so. She did attend one of the group sessions I held, and then she came back afterward for some individual healing work. During one of those healing sessions, I discovered the reptilians had placed an etheric implant in her jaw. My jaw had been killing me for about 5 years, she says. The reptilians had put an implant in it in order to block my third eye and my crown chakra. But once the implant was removed, everything changed. I started to care about my life again, and about getting out and exercising and doing things. Before the implant was removed, whenever anybody talked about aliens, my mind always said, "Oh, that's crazy." It doesn't say that anymore. The reptilians were blocking me because they didn't want me to believe it. Taking it to the next level. Most of the people I work with are grateful and relieved to have whatever was in them or blocking them removed. And when our healing sessions are finished, they go off and live their lives. I don't usually have any further contact with them. That definitely wasn't the case with Ellen. She says, I became really intrigued with wanting to help everybody else in the universe. So I started coming to you to learn. I thought I was just going to be there and you would be doing the work, not me. But then I started participating and you kind of led me into it. It was easy. I began to feel what you felt. And then I learned from you how to create a vortex and send the entities to the light. Before long, I thought I had to clear up everybody. She laughs when she says she wanted to help clear everyone in the universe, but it was true. She began working on her immediate family members first, and then branched out to other family members, friends, and even friends of friends. That's a pretty normal progression. It's the reason most of the healings I do, maybe 90% of removals, are on someone's family members and friends who aren't initially aware it's taking place. Ellen had this to say. People have said to me, you can't clear this person, or you can't clear that person because you're going against their free will. But something inside of me always told me it isn't free will to have those entities inside of you. God wouldn't want you to be attacked by those things. So I just kept clearing people at a distance. It bears repeating again and again that the soul does not deny permission for this work. When you're asking for permission and you hear a no, that's coming from the reptilians. They won't let you penetrate through to the soul. The reptilians are trying to maintain control and they are not going to give you permission to remove themselves. That's why you need the Arcturians to send down their shaft of light to penetrate that veil or force field the reptilians put up. Ellen also brought several of her family members in to see me for individual sessions. I intuitively knew way ahead of time that these entities tried to prevent people from coming, says Ellen, and I would get so nervous whenever I had to bring somebody to your place because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to get them there. One of the first people Ellen brought to see me was her former daughter-in-law, Kathy, with whom she'd maintained a close relationship. Kathy had an entity that was causing her problems with her back. According to Ellen, Kathy had not been open to being in a relationship, but a few days after the healing session, when I removed the entity, Kathy went on a date and met the man she's now married to. He has a son and daughter from a previous marriage, and Kathy knew right away there was something going on with the son. He'd been in trouble quite a bit and had a history of violent behavior. So Ellen and Kathy brought Kathy's new family in for a session, during which we removed some demons from Kathy's stepson. That was the first session Ellen participated in with me. When I asked her if I could share some of her experiences for this book, she told me she rarely has an opportunity to talk to people about this, so she was happy to be able to talk about it with me. There is still a stigma attached to the subject of entities in general, and specifically reptilians. But I noticed that more and more people are openly discussing it. David Icke from England has been writing and talking about this for nearly 20 years. When he first started speaking about it in public, he had maybe 5 people show up. Now he has thousands come to his lectures. The world is becoming aware of it. Tuning in to the energy. Throughout the time Ellen has been doing this work with me, she's faced her share of challenges. After the first healing session we were involved in together, she was so exhausted she felt as if she'd been hit by a train. She couldn't get out of bed the next day and was tired for the following 2 days as well. Although I didn't really understand it at the time, she says, I knew it must have been an energetic thing. I thought, well, I guess that's part of it. I knew I would feel things in my body. When we tuned into the energy, whatever the person we were working on had, I would feel it in my body, and then I would feel it leave. What I didn't realize is that it takes a certain amount of your own energy to do this. I don't fully understand it either, but in the course of these healings, we are working and connecting with multidimensional beings, ascended masters, star beings, angels, archangels, all who have a very high vibration. In order to tap into that high vibration, we have to raise our own vibrations higher. When I began doing healings, it used to wipe me out too, and take me a couple of days to recover. The energies are very high, and they affect people differently. Ellen's exhaustion didn't faze her for long, though. If anything, she tried to do too much too soon. Sometimes people get overly enthusiastic and jump right into it. Then, when they experience the consequences, they totally shut down. Eventually, Ellen learned to proceed gradually, with baby steps, because she found out that if you take on too much, too soon, you're likely to get clobbered. She had to learn that lesson. Each person has to go through his or her own learning process and build a foundation just like I did. Anytime we move too quickly, we can miss things that are subtle but may be extremely important. You have to be patient while you're working too. Don't just move on to clearing the next person. Wait a while and see if there's another wave coming, more work to be done. You've got to check and recheck and double check, says Ellen. This isn't a fast thing. You have to be there a while. Patience, thoroughness, and vigilance. It helps to master all 3 if you're going to try to do this. These dark force entities are extremely manipulative, and their manipulation can be quite subtle. Ellen says, when these things are inside you, they take over your thinking. They poison your mind and pump in negative stuff so you can't even think to ask somebody to clear you. This doesn't just happen to people who aren't aware of or who have no experience with entities and attachments. It can happen to people who know all about them. The entities don't usually come in like a load of bricks dropped on your head. If they did come in that way, you would notice it pretty quickly, and you would do something about it. But often they come in very subtly and start working their negative energy on you. It can be hard to pick up on what's happening. They block you from Source, from connecting, from meditating. They block you from your spiritual life, your physical life, and enjoyment in general. As Ellen pointed out, they especially block you from being around people who can remove them from you. Surviving the challenges. Ellen's current husband had a lot of negative energy. Those negative thoughts I've talked about that turn into negative thought forms, then crystallize and become entity-like. It took some time to chip away at that block of negativity. But since he had it for several decades, we didn't try to disintegrate it all at once. That would have been too traumatic for him. He'd also had reptilians in him for a long time, and Ellen participated in removing them. She's seen a big difference in him since then. He used to go through mood changes up and down, she says. All of a sudden, he would become real cold and emotionless. For a week at a time, he wouldn't talk to anybody. He couldn't get out of bed. If I talked about love, he would say, "I don't want love." Now, I realize that was the reptilians. They don't want love. So they were saying that. Now, if he has a mood swing, it doesn't last very long. And he started to open up more and more. That's very positive for both Ellen and her husband. In spite of the consequences she deals with, she says, removing reptilians doesn't take long, but the repercussions of doing it are really cruel. Since I started doing this, I've had a lot of stomach problems. They always attack me there. Everyone has a weak spot, and Ellen's is in her stomach. She said it felt as though some of the people we cleared were shooting poison arrows at her stomach. Sometimes, when that happens, she thinks about not doing this work anymore. I guess they try to weaken me by doing that, and sometimes it works temporarily. But I am who I am, and I'll probably never stop doing the work. I think eventually good things are going to happen. She makes an effort to shield herself, but she's an empath. She feels other people's aches and pains and takes a lot on that she'd probably rather not take on. But that's just who she is. As I indicated in the introduction to this chapter, when you do this work, you become a target. And Ellen has experienced that. Ellen has this to say: not only do you become a target, but your family members become targets. And even my pet became a target. They tried to blind my dog. Luckily, she isn't totally blind. We caught it in time. I believe she had a healing from Archangel Michael and Raphael and Jesus. But they'll stop at nothing to attack you and the people around you. She says if you do energy work and somebody comes in who has something that you're not aware of, whatever they have can jump onto you. So you have to ask for all kinds of protection in your home and for the people in your home, and that the people who come in don't bring anything in. Or if they do, that it'll go to the light. If you're not doing this work and are not a threat to these entities and attachments, you might be able to get by with some lapses of attention. But when we are doing the work, these things are all around us, ready to come in at the slightest sign of weakness. As soon as our vibration gets down, the second we give them an opening, they're in. And once one gets in, it holds the door open for others. They want to neutralize us so we're no longer a threat to them. So we're no longer working for the light. If they can do that, they've succeeded. And they have succeeded with a lot of people. That's why we need to keep our vibration up as much as possible. If you're tired or sick, you should not be doing this at all, says Ellen. Before someone starts doing this work, they have to be clear, calm, centered, and ready for it. It's imperative that they have a high vibration. Maybe those people who are ready will be guided to do it. It's not child's play. It can be deadly. Ellen has been connected with the Arcturians from her first healing session, and she has accepted their download. I can feel their energy as they come in, And I talk to them, says Ellen. I haven't seen them, but they communicate with me telepathically. It's a soft kind of energy. She continues to be challenged, but that's true for all of us. She says, I'm really glad to be of service and to help the planet because it feels like I have a purpose.